The tale of the three brothers, included in the book The Tales of Beedle the Bard and featured in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, is a classic fable in the wizarding world. It tells the story of three brothers who encounter death on a treacherous bridge. Instead of succumbing, they manage to outsmart death and receive three gifts from her, known as the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, an unbeatable wand, the Resurrection Stone, capable of bringing the dead back, albeit only partially, the Invisibility Cloak, which allows the user to hide completely, even from death. Each of the three brothers chooses a different Hallow, guided by their own motivations and desires. The moral of the tale emphasizes that, while the first two brothers fall into ruin due to their thirst for power and desperate love, the third brother leads a long and peaceful life. He is the only one who eventually accepts death willingly and departs with her as an equal. The theory that Dumbledore is the allegorical representation of death has gained traction within the Harry Potter fandom, especially on discussion sites, blogs, and social media. The connection emerged when fans noticed that Dumbledore seems to act similarly to death in the tale, providing or facilitating access to the Hallows for the main characters. J.K. Rowling has mentioned that she appreciates the symbolism of this theory and considers it a valid metaphor within the broader narrative. The central idea of the theory is that Dumbledore is not just a mentor or a father figure to Harry, but also a personification of death within the story. He not only possesses all three Hallows at different times, but also plays the role of a guide who leads the characters to confront their choices, whether by accepting or challenging death. His presence, both in life and in limbo, reinforces the role of a transcendent being who is not merely mortal. The eldest brother is characterized by a thirst for power and excessive ambition. Upon receiving the Elder Wand, he uses it to assert his dominance and defeat an old enemy, but soon falls into ruin after boasting about his newfound power. He is killed in his sleep, a victim of his arrogance and vulnerability. This trajectory mirrors Voldemort's life. Voldemort's obsessive pursuit of the Elder Wand in Deathly Hallows reflects his desire for absolute control and his inability to understand the true nature of the Hallows. He believes that the wand will ensure his invincibility, but his shallow understanding becomes his downfall. The wand, loyal to Harry, does not fully respond to Voldemort's command, resulting in his demise. The connection goes beyond the wand. Like the eldest brother, Voldemort is driven by arrogance and the belief that power is the answer to all problems. Both share an inability to accept mortality, seeing it as something to be overcome or controlled. This parallel not only reinforces the tragic nature of Voldemort, but also his moral blindness, as he never grasps the true purpose of the Deathly Hallows. The second brother in the tale is a character who wishes to bring back his deceased beloved, so he asks Death for the Resurrection Stone. He manages to bring her back, but she returns as a shadow of who she once was, cold and distant. Unable to bear the situation, the brother takes his own life to join her in the world of the dead. Snape is the modern embodiment of this brother. Since Lily Potter's death, his great love, Snape lives in constant grief and regret. His life is dominated by unrequited love and incessant guilt over his indirect role in her death. While Snape never physically possesses the Resurrection Stone, he symbolically carries the weight of the middle brother, desperately seeking a way to atone for his past mistakes and in some way reconnect with Lily. Snape's obsession is evident in his actions, such as his decision to protect Harry, not out of loyalty to the boy, but as a final act of love for Lily. Snape's enduring pain and loyalty to Lily's memory define his tragedy, just as the middle brother's failure to accept death as a natural part of life defines his own. The third brother is the wisest of the three. He asks Death for an object that would allow him to escape unseen, choosing the Invisibility Cloak. Unlike his brothers, he does not seek to challenge or manipulate Death. Instead, he leads a long and peaceful life until, in old age, he passes the cloak to his son and greets Death as an old friend, without fear or resistance. Harry, as the rightful heir of the Invisibility Cloak, represents this brother in the contemporary narrative. From early on, he uses the cloak to avoid unnecessary confrontations and protect those around him, rather than to gain advantage or power. His connection with death also differs greatly from Voldemort's or Snape's. While Voldemort fears it and Snape tries to subvert it, Harry accepts his mortality. This is evident in his final act of sacrifice when he surrenders to Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest, knowing that he must die to defeat his enemy. Harry's encounter with Dumbledore in Limbo after being struck by the killing curse symbolizes the moment when the third brother meets death. Harry has the choice to move on or return to the world of the living, and he chooses to return, showing that true wisdom lies in understanding when to accept and when to challenge death. Dumbledore is the only character throughout the saga who possesses all three Deathly Hallows at different points. He demonstrates a deep interest in them, not just as objects of power, but as fundamental elements to understanding the boundary between life and death. Dumbledore acquires the Elder Wand after defeating Grindelwald in 1945, becoming its master until his death. He recognizes the wand's danger and potential for destruction, but also sees it as a tool to maintain order in the wizarding world. Unlike the eldest brother in the tale, Dumbledore understands the true nature of the wand and uses it cautiously, without boasting or seeking absolute power. The Resurrection Stone comes into Dumbledore's possession in a tragic manner. He finds it in a cursed ring belonging to the Gaunt family, Voldemort's ancestors, and is poisoned while trying to use it to bring back his sister, Ariana. At this moment, Dumbledore shows a weakness similar to that of the middle brother, driven by the desire to see a lost loved one again. However, the stone is ultimately passed on to Harry within the Golden Snitch, representing Dumbledore's role as a mediator between the characters and the Hallows. Dumbledore plays a crucial role in the delivery of the Hallows to the characters representing the three brothers. The Elder Wand is obtained by Voldemort when he opens Dumbledore's tomb, symbolizing the indirect passing of the Hallow to the modern eldest brother. The Resurrection Stone is placed inside a golden snitch and given to Harry, allowing him to symbolically connect with his loved ones before his sacrifice. The stone serves as a final test for Harry, who uses it not to keep the dead at his side, but to muster the courage needed to face Voldemort. The invisibility cloak is given by Dumbledore to Harry, reflecting his role as guardian of the Hallows and as a facilitator of the characters' encounters with their final destinies. The limbo scene in Deathly Hallows is a pivotal moment for the theory of Dumbledore as death. After being hit by the killing curse, Harry finds himself in an ethereal limbo resembling King's Cross Station, where he is greeted by Dumbledore. During this interaction, Dumbledore not only guides Harry, but also gives him the choice to return to life or move on, something traditionally associated with death itself. This choice is a central element of the theory, symbolizing death as an impartial entity that does not enforce an end, but offers options. In this moment, Dumbledore is not just a spiritual mentor, but a personification of the concept of benevolent and inevitable death, reinforcing the metaphor of the tale of the three brothers. In the tale, death gives the Hallows to the brothers, and ultimately meets the third brother as an equal. Throughout the series, Dumbledore behaves similarly. He provides each character with the means to confront their own internal struggles and mortality. He delivers the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak to the characters representing the brothers in the tale, acting as a guide both in life and beyond death. The moral of the tale of the three brothers is clear. Wisdom lies in accepting death as a natural part of life, rather than challenging or manipulating it. Each of the brothers in the tale represents a different approach to death. The first brother seeks to dominate death with the Elder Wand, but is quickly defeated by his own arrogance and desire for power. The second brother tries to reverse death with the Resurrection Stone, but is consumed by the pain and sorrow of having a lost love return in an incomplete form. The third brother accepts death as an inevitable fact, living peacefully until he voluntarily departs. Dumbledore, acting as the mediator between the characters and the Hallows, reinforces this moral. He understands that death is not something to be feared or denied, but to be accepted calmly and consciously. Throughout the series, Dumbledore tries to teach Harry this lesson, from his approach to the Philosopher's Stone in the Philosopher's Stone to his advice to face Voldemort bravely in Deathly Hallows. Harry's acceptance of death is what sets him apart from Voldemort, whose obsession with immortality leads to his downfall. Throughout the series, Dumbledore is a character who always seems a step ahead, manipulating events in pursuit of a greater good. This approach makes him a morally complex figure, often seen as calculating or cold. However, when viewed through this theory, Dumbledore resembles more of an impartial entity like death in the tale. His main motivation is to lead the characters, especially Harry, to understand the value of sacrifice and acceptance. Dumbledore believes that true victory over death is not in avoiding it, but in facing it head-on, accepting it as part of life's cycle. This vision becomes clearer when he leaves the Resurrection Stone for for Harry inside the golden snitch, essentially allowing Harry to make one last emotional connection before his sacrifice. Dumbledore also knows that the Elder Wand must be defeated for its cycle of violence to end, and he plans for this to happen through Draco Malfoy's disarming. Similarly, by allowing Snape to kill him, he not only paves the way for Harry's sacrifice, but also seals his own fate with resignation, just as death does with the third brother. The theory of Dumbledore as death offers a philosophical perspective on the Harry Potter narrative itself, highlighting the inevitability of death and the importance of accepting it. Unlike other stories where death is seen as an enemy to be defeated, Harry Potter treats death as an essential component of life's cycle, emphasizing the peace and wisdom that come from acceptance. The series also emphasizes that love, sacrifice, and acceptance are more powerful than any form of magic. Harry is only able to defeat Voldemort because he understands this, while Voldemort, blinded by his desire for immortality and power, never achieves this understanding. By embodying the figure of death, Dumbledore represents this acceptance, acting as a spiritual guide for Harry, Snape, and even the readers. Since the theory of Dumbledore as death began circulating on fan forums and online discussions, it has become one of the most debated and intriguing within the Harry Potter universe. The theory gained popularity not only due to its symbolic basis, but also for offering a deeper interpretation of Dumbledore's role throughout the series. Many fans believe that this theory enriches the narrative, adding layers of moral complexity to Dumbledore, who is traditionally seen as a wise mentor, but also one manipulated by his own mistakes and regrets. The theory has also sparked heated debates among fans, especially between those who see Dumbledore as a benevolent figure versus those who view him as morally ambiguous. The interpretation of Dumbledore as death suggests that he is not merely a master strategist, but also an entity that transcends human morality, guiding characters toward accepting their fates impartially. For some fans, this perspective is comforting, portraying Dumbledore as a cosmic guide, while others consider it a way to justify his ethically questionable decisions, such as using Harry as a key piece to defeat Voldemort. The theory has also influenced the perception of the final book and film in the series, especially the limbo scene. This scene, already interpreted as a moment of reflection and choice for Harry, is now seen as an even more direct metaphor for the final encounter with death, personified by Dumbledore. Harry's choice to return to life is not just an act of sacrifice, but also a moment of acceptance of what death represents in the wizarding world. J.K. Rowling has not explicitly confirmed the theory of Dumbledore as death, but she has mentioned in interviews that she considers fan interpretations an essential part of the Harry Potter experience. She values the ability of readers to find symbolism and hidden meanings in the story, and has stated that some of the most popular theories are interesting and valid. Rowling acknowledges that the tale of the three brothers is central to the moral of the Deathly Hallows, serving as a mirror for Harry's journey and the choices made by other characters. Although she hasn't directly commented on Dumbledore as death, her appreciation for Dumbledore's moral complexity suggests that she understands and even supports interpretations that portray him as a more ambiguous and profound figure than just a simple mentor or leader. According to Rowling, this approach allows readers to view Dumbledore in a more symbolic and philosophical light, reinforcing the idea that the Harry Potter stories are, at their core, parables about life, death, and what it means to be human.